Have you ever noticed that some of the greatest fears in your life never actually happened? You imagine losing your job. You imagine getting sick. You imagine failing, being rejected, being alone. You prepare yourself for conversations that never take place, for disasters that never arrive, for futures that may never exist. And somehow, your body reacts as though those imagined events are happening right now. Your heart beats faster. Your breathing changes. Your muscles tighten. Your mind races. All because of something that hasn't happened. Why? Why does the brain respond to imagination as if it were reality? Most people believe anxiety begins when something bad happens, but in many cases, anxiety begins long before reality ever has the chance. It begins inside the mind. Because the human brain has an extraordinary ability. It can travel through time, not physically, but mentally. It can revisit yesterday, and it can simulate tomorrow. This ability has helped our species survive for thousands of years. It allowed our ancestors to prepare for danger before danger arrived, to imagine possible threats, to plan, to adapt, to survive. But every extraordinary ability comes with a hidden cost. The same imagination that helps us prepare can also trap us inside futures that never happen. The brain doesn't always distinguish between a real threat and a vividly imagined one. If the scenario feels believable enough, the body responds. Stress hormones are released. The nervous system prepares for action. Your entire biology shifts into survival mode, even though you're sitting safely in your own home. This is one of the strangest paradoxes of being human. Our greatest evolutionary advantage can also become one of our greatest sources of suffering, because the future exists in only one place, the imagination. And yet, we often experience it as though it were already real. But if the future is only a prediction, why does the brain trust those predictions so much? To answer that, we need to understand what the brain was actually designed to do. Imagine standing in a forest thousands of years ago. Every sound mattered. A rustling bush, a distant shadow, the snap of a branch. Your ancestors couldn't afford to assume everything was safe. Because sometimes, it wasn't. The humans who survived were not always the strongest. They were often the ones who anticipated danger before it appeared. Those who imagined the worst had a better chance of avoiding it. Over thousands of generations, this shaped the human brain. Not into a machine designed for happiness, but into one designed for survival. This is why your brain pays far more attention to potential threats than to peaceful moments. Psychologists call this the negativity bias. The brain naturally gives more importance to danger than to comfort, more attention to problems than to peace, more focus on what could go wrong than on what is already going right. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes perfect sense. Ignoring a beautiful sunset carried no real consequence. Ignoring a predator could cost you your life. The brain learned a simple lesson. Notice danger first. Relax later. The problem is that the world has changed far faster than the brain itself. Today, most of us are not running from predators. We are running from uncertainty, a job interview, a medical test, an important email, financial pressure, a difficult conversation. The brain often reacts to these modern challenges using the same ancient survival system. It cannot always distinguish between physical danger and psychological uncertainty. To your nervous system, both can feel equally urgent. That is why your heart races before a presentation, why your stomach tightens before opening a message, why you lose sleep over events that haven't even happened. Your brain is not trying to make you miserable. It is trying to keep you alive. But there is one problem. This ancient system was never designed for a world filled with endless information. Every notification, every headline, every worst-case scenario you read online feeds the brain new possibilities to worry about. Instead of scanning one forest for danger, the modern brain now scans the entire world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No wonder so many people feel exhausted. The survival system was never meant to stay switched on all the time. It was designed to activate, solve the problem, and then return to calm. But modern life rarely gives it that opportunity. And that's where something remarkable begins to happen. The imagination starts creating dangers that reality never asked for. And once that happens, the future begins to feel more real than the present. There's one ability that separates human beings from every other species on Earth. The ability to imagine. Before building a bridge, we imagine it. Before writing a book, we imagine it. Before changing our lives, we imagine a different future. Imagination is one of humanity's greatest gifts. It gave us art, science, civilizations. Every invention that has ever changed the world began as an idea inside someone's mind. But the same imagination that creates extraordinary possibilities can also create extraordinary fear, because the brain does not imagine only success. It also imagines failure. It imagines rejection, embarrassment, loss, illness, disaster. And when those imagined scenarios become vivid enough, the body begins responding as though they were already happening. Think about that for a moment. A thought can change your heartbeat. A possibility can change your breathing. A future that doesn't exist can completely transform the chemistry inside your body. This is why anxiety often feels so real, because to your nervous system, it is real. Not because the future has arrived, but because your brain believes it might. The brain is constantly making predictions. Every second, it asks, what happens next? How do I stay safe? What should I prepare for? Most of the time, this prediction system works quietly in the background. But when uncertainty increases, the brain starts producing more possibilities, more questions, more worst-case scenarios. Not because it wants to scare you, but because it hopes one of those predictions will keep you safe. Ironically, the more possibilities it creates, the less peaceful the mind becomes. Instead of preparing you, it overwhelms you. You begin living inside imagined tomorrows, conversations that haven't happened, problems that don't exist, outcomes no one can predict. The imagination stops serving you and begins controlling you. This is why so many people feel mentally exhausted without doing anything physically demanding. The brain has been running simulations all day long, searching, predicting, preparing, trying to solve futures that may never arrive. And perhaps the greatest irony is this. Most of the things we spend our lives worrying about never actually happen, yet we pay the emotional price for them anyway. Which raises an important question. If imagination can create so much unnecessary suffering, how do we stop living inside tomorrow and begin experiencing today? There's a quiet conflict happening inside every human being, not between logic and emotion, not between fear and courage, but between an ancient brain and a modern world. For almost all of human history, danger was immediate. You either escaped it or you didn't. A storm passed. A predator disappeared. The body returned to safety. Stress had an ending. But today, danger rarely has a clear finish line. Your brain wakes up to unread emails, breaking news, social media, financial uncertainty, deadlines, messages waiting for a reply. A constant stream of information reminding you of everything that could go wrong. The survival brain was never designed for this. It evolved to solve one problem at a time. Instead, modern life presents hundreds of unfinished problems every single day. Some are real, many are only possibilities. Yet the brain reacts to all of them. One notification becomes another. One concern becomes 5. 5 become 20. Without realizing it, the mind begins carrying tomorrow before today has even ended. This is why so many people feel mentally exhausted. Even after a day spent sitting at a desk, the body may be still, but the brain has been running non-stop, scanning, predicting, comparing, preparing, searching for certainty in a world that offers very little of it. And perhaps that is the greatest challenge of modern life. Not that there are more dangers, but that there are more opportunities to imagine danger. The human mind was given unlimited imagination and unlimited access to information. That combination can be extraordinary or overwhelming, depending on how we use it. The brain keeps asking the same question it has asked for thousands of years. Am I safe? But in today's world, that question often has no final answer. There is always another email, another headline, another uncertainty waiting around the corner. So the survival system stays active, not because you are in immediate danger, but because it never receives permission to rest. The truth is, peace does not come when the world finally becomes predictable, because it never will. Peace begins the moment you stop asking the future to guarantee your safety, and instead, teach your brain that safety can also exist in the present moment. That realization changes everything, because once the brain understands it doesn't have to solve tomorrow, it can finally begin experiencing today. And that may be the first real step toward freedom. Before we finish, I'd like to share something that completely changed the way I think about fear. Most people believe the opposite of anxiety is confidence, but perhaps it isn't. Perhaps the opposite of anxiety is presence. Think about it. Fear almost always lives in tomorrow. Regret almost always lives in yesterday. But life only exists here, in this moment. The present is the only place where your body can truly experience reality. Everything else is memory or imagination. And yet, most of us spend very little time here. The mind drifts backward, then forward, yesterday, tomorrow, again and again, rarely stopping long enough to notice what is happening right now. So I'd like to invite you to try something. Not tomorrow, not later, right now. Take one slow breath without trying to change anything. Simply notice the air entering your body. Notice your shoulders. Notice the weight of your hands. Notice the sounds around you. For just a few seconds, there is nothing to solve, nothing to predict, nothing to control, only this moment. This simple exercise may seem almost too easy, but neuroscience tells us something fascinating. Every time you bring your attention back to the present, you interrupt the brain's endless predictions about the future. You remind your nervous system that in this exact moment, you're safe. Little by little, the brain begins learning a new pattern. Not every uncertain thought requires an answer. Not every imagined danger deserves your attention. Not every possibility needs to become your reality. The future will always contain uncertainty. That has never changed, and it never will. But uncertainty is not the same as danger. The brain often confuses the two. Wisdom begins when you no longer do, because there is something the future can never take away from you. This moment, the one you're living right now. The present may not answer every question, but it offers something far more valuable, a place where life is actually happening. Perhaps peace was never about predicting tomorrow. Perhaps peace is trusting yourself enough to meet tomorrow when it arrives, not before. The future is only a possibility. The present is reality, and maybe the greatest freedom you'll ever experience is realizing that life has never asked you to live tomorrow. It has only asked you to fully live today. Thank you for being here. Take care of your mind. Take care of your body. And never stop exploring the extraordinary mystery of being human. Welcome to MindBody Alchemy.